Well, here we come to the last project. Project 13. I call it the art of proportion, or dividing the plane. Um, a lot of the projects we've been done now, up till now, has been all about structure and building a module up to create intricate designs, but a lot of it has been pattern making and patterning. And something sort of more profoundly basic, even than beautiful pattern making, is um, proportion itself. I have this quote on the syllabus from Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. He was an abbot of Clairvaux from 1091 to 1153, and he said there must be no decoration, only proportion. That proportion is the real deal, perhaps God itself, and decoration is sort of all the superficial effects of God's creation, if we want to interpret what he was thinking there. I have a picture of the Abbey of Cluny as it would have looked in Bernard's time, and a link out to Wikipedia to read more about him. Most important thing about any kind of design is for you to understand proportion. It's an intuitive understanding. How does one element relate to other elements, and how does it fit into the frame as a whole? The frame is very, very important. In a two-dimensional plane, the frame is the edge of the canvas or paper. In three-dimension, it would be the outer contour edge of the third-dimensional object. So the design then exists inside of those parameters, and tension, calm, action, rest, many, many more states are expressed in this idea of proportion. So let's, almost I could start with this as project number one instead of where we did. But let's go ahead and start again with our brand new file, and why not make it 8 by 8 inches again. It's big enough that it has nice quality but not too big. So 8 by 8, that's 72, and RGB color. Okay. So when we talk about the frame, I'm talking about the outer edge here. Unless I set a frame off like we did in Project 1 within this frame, the black line. So there was really the first project. This is coming full circle because our first project was laying a single dot into the frame, and where it existed and what size it was in relation to the frame was all about proportion again. And you were able to intuit, most of you did it very well, an adjective that would describe this very abstract circumstance of a small dot or a large dot in relative proportion to the frame it was in. So you could describe loneliness, agitation, happiness, excitement, and on and on. I had a list of 750 adjectives there for you to consider, and that's not an exhaustive list by any means. So let's get started. How about the most basic of all, balanced proportions? How will I do this? Okay. Photoshop CS3 has these marquee tools, single column marquee tool, horizontal and vertical. So let me show the grid. So view, show grid, and that'll allow me to lay out a single row right here in the center. I'm going to make this a perfect proportion and edit stroke that. Remember, the grid doesn't print, it's just there temporarily, and we'll make that 7 pixels centered on the line and say OK to that. And then I'll go back and grab the horizontal marquee tool and throw that right here, and repeat the stroke process. All right, and let me hide the grid. So I'll take that off and deselect. Well, here we have a perfect crossing, perfectly equally proportioned 4 squares in a square. And Of course, in Western civilization, this is one of the all-time great symbols of centered holiness, and I don't need to elaborate. You know what I'm talking about. And we can now vary this. What I should have done was put each of those lines on its own layer, because right now they're on the background layer, and I can't move them around. To try some designs in here. In order to color these, if I were to play some color games with them, again, pick your color by clicking on the foreground color, grab a bucket tool, and drop some color in here. Bet some gray. You get the idea. Okay, so I could undo all this. I'm going to do a design. You're going to do 6 designs or 8 designs, so just play with it and have fun. Oh, just to reiterate, if you were to go and want to try some filters on this too, if I make a selection, let's say of just the red, come on, tool, Control deselect that. My wand got put up for some reason to 255, so I have to bring it back to 32. Click there. Bevel and emboss. You don't want to get too fancy here, but you might want to play with some filters. There's noise filters in here. Add noise, and that'll create kind of an interesting, you don't want to go too crazy with that. Texture in there. What other filters are around here? Play with them. Take a look. See what's up. Brush strokes. Accented edges, angled strokes, and cross-hatching. I wonder if that'll do anything with this solid fill with noise in it. So it opens up this dialog box. It's off your screen here, and you get these sliders that you can play with and say OK to that. And that's kind of a neat brushed aluminum kind of red look here. That could look with good with the gray. All right, let me close this out and start a new one. This time, putting it, so file new, inches, 8 by 8 by 72. And let me show the layers, window, layers, and create 2 other layers in here. Just stick these over here for now. Alrighty, good. So on layer 1, let's take the horizontal. I want to show its view, show grid again. No, forget that. Don't use the grid. We did that the first time around. Don't need it. Click away. Okay, I'm just going to lay out, because it's on its own layer, I'm just going to lay this out. Edit stroke. Make it black. Centered on the line. Deselect. Control D. And grab the vertical one. Edit stroke. Deselect. Now they're on their own layer, so it's easy enough to move them around. That's kind of a nice design right there. If I wanted to, if I'm having trouble grabbing them, if I zoom in, then I can grab them and move them where I want independently, or it seems like I've got control over both because I put the cursor right on the intersection of the two. Okay, so guess what? Now that I'm out, I forgot to put the second line on the other layer, so I have to step backwards until I get out my layers palette and put it on layer 2. So if you run into little troubles like, why isn't this working for me? Generally you can solve 90% of your problems by just looking in your layers and seeing what's up layer-wise with your image. Okay, edit. Also, something that throws people is you might have a selection on someplace if something won't fill. Okay, deselect. Now we've got it. So this will move independent of that one. Good. So let's see what happens if I don't flatten these down and I threw a color in here. Yeah, it filled more than I wanted it to. So Control Z that. Layer, flatten image. It's at the bottom here. Then you can do your fill. And take a look at the work of Piet Mondrian also. He did primary color fills with paint on white canvas with black lines. And he had a very decidedly mystical approach to what he was doing. It wasn't just random. He had a lot of philosophy behind what he was up to. And you might want to check him out also, and I think it's linked from the syllabus. So try a few of these, have fun, and post them to the blog and to PhotoThing, and we're pretty much wrapping it up at this point. Take care. See you later. Bye.